What's up, guys? This is Doctor, and welcome to another episode of the FPL Fantasy. It has been too long. Game week 23 finally finished, and we're looking ahead at game week 24 up to game week 27, probably. Of course, FPL Fantasy is nothing without Joe. How are you, Joe?
I'm doing better now that 23 is over. As you can tell, the hair's grown out, the beard's grown out. I feel about 15 years older, and after the stress of game week 23, and I think I ended on 21 points. Yeah, it's great to move on and go to 24. Let's forget it.
In this episode, we're going to talk about the top transfers, especially with the double game weeks incoming. So we're going to give our opinions about it, and please share with us who are you planning to bring in, especially with every team is different and with different chip strategies. So shall we get into it, Joe?
So right now we have the fixture structure that Ben Krelin put out on Twitter, and credit to him. Dude's amazing, does everything for the community, helps make sure that we can plan ahead a little bit, even in crazy season like now. Now everybody's had a little bit of a chance to take a look at the fixtures. You see 25 there's doubles, 26 there's doubles. There's rumors of doubles on 27. 30 looks like a mess, but there's some room to plan in there still, nonetheless. I'm gonna throw up our top picks for the double game week. And Doc, do you want to talk about some of them?
Naturally, everybody will jump on Liverpool players because they have ridiculous amount of fixtures coming up, especially attacking returns are highly likely. So everybody will probably triple up on Liverpool players. So Mohamed Salah will play Leeds and Norwich. It's a triple captaincy option. A lot of people are debating on Twitter that they might free hit or they might bench boost instead of triple captain. But for me, triple captain, especially people are arguing the fact that they're not going to gain too many points because many people will triple captain him. However, I think you will lose too many points if you don't triple captain him, if you look at it from that side, because those are the possibly best set of fixtures you can imagine for Mohamed Salah when he's back. So I'm excited to triple captain him at that point. I still have him. I kept him in my team. Tonight is the actual final for Senegal versus Egypt, and Klopp mentioned that the winner will come actually a bit later than the team who comes second. So we'll see who comes back first, Mane or Salah. Regardless, Salah stays in my team. It saved me a transfer. It's going to save me a transfer down the line. But I think the main target is to target Salah. One thing I wanted to mention that people also can get blinded by double game weeks. One of the things that I usually do is look at the fixture ticker. And at the end, within the next four, for example, game weeks, I see how many matches each team has. For example, if a team has a double game week and then has two blanks after it, they basically have two fixtures only. They don't have a double game week, if you know what I mean. So looking at how many fixtures each team has, yes, Liverpool only have 4 fixtures over the 4 next game weeks. They have Leicester, Burnley, Norwich, Leeds, and then a blank. So in this blank, you're going to be tripled up on Liverpool. So you have to think about game week 27 when they have a blank, when they play, I believe, Arsenal in the final of the Carabao Cup. So this blank, you don't want to add more Arsenal players because at this point, you're going to have a lot of people blanking. So you have to think a bit long term, and you have to think about your chip strategy. Joe?
You've seen my potential game week 24 wildcard. I have Liverpool, I have Arsenal in it, and it's all really about planning. If you can plan out to, hey, if something goes wrong, I can make this move. Or, look, I have 5 people that are going to blank in 27. How do I get it so I only have 2 or 3 that can just sit on the bench? I don't have to worry about it. And that's something that I've worked on a little bit with my wildcard. As we've talked about outside of this, looking at the Spurs, they have, I believe it's Burnley and City, and it's a decent fixture with Burnley. With City, that's going to be a tough one. I tend to sit on the whole, all right, it's Kane or Son, or basically nobody with Spurs, because they're going to get a couple goals scored against them, probably against City. Hopefully not, as a Spurs guy myself, but I think you go with your 2 solid options. Just stick with it.
What I like about Spurs, especially as an option, I'm looking at Son. Somehow I want to fit him in my team. The reason is because they also have a long-term decent fixtures. They are unlikely to blank. It's up to 29. They're very safe. They have a double game week. They have Leeds away. They have Everton at home. They have Burnley, Wolves at home, Southampton. So they have quite decent fixtures. Son is back from injury, so I'm looking to bring him in just because they have this long-term nice fixtures coming up. So let's jump on to United.
They're coming off of a tough FA Cup loss, but Ronaldo, he's probably the controversial pick in here. We do have DDG, we have Bruno. I think they're probably the more popular picks currently in the community, where Ronaldo, sometime he's going to kick out of this little downturn that he's in, and he's going to be Ronaldo. We know that.
Also, part of your planning should be the Champions League, because Manchester United are playing Atletico Madrid in the Champions League. Ronaldo has to start in the Champions League, so you wonder how that will affect his minutes within the Premier League. However, if my advice, which I tweeted about kind of recently, that if you have Ronaldo or if you have Bruno, just stick with them and hope that one outscores the other, the one you own outscores the other, because Manchester United have relatively favorable fixtures. They're one of the best fixtures over the medium term. So I like the choices of Manchester United, but I slightly now leaning towards Bruno, who I own, although Ronaldo can score one goal and take all the bonus, and all of a sudden Ronaldo's the best option in the world. Especially Ronaldo's getting the chances, he's getting the shots, he's getting in decent positions. He just hasn't scored recently, and the missed penalty doesn't help. So I prefer Bruno at this point, because he's probably now leaning also towards penalties. When Pogba played in the FA Cup, Bruno was more of a number 10 rather than a number 8, which he occupied previously when McTominay and Fred played. So it was like interchanging between Bruno drops down deep and Fred plays up higher a bit. But at this point, when Pogba played, Bruno was higher. He played more of a number 10 rather than number 8. So I really like the option of Bruno, and probably he'll be my captain in the double game week.
I agree with everything that you just said there. Bruno's probably taking over some penalty duty, and Ronaldo is doing great, getting into great positions. Just luck hasn't fallen his way right now. Do you want to get into some of the other top picks that we have here?
The graphic is phenomenally made by Joe, by the way, letting everybody know. And I've asked him to add Aston Villa assets because they are highly likely, as Ben Krillin mentioned, that they're highly likely to double game week in 27. Yes, it's not guaranteed double game week, and you shouldn't really take that very seriously, but I tend to do, because I like how Ben Krillin plays with his graphs, and I think most of the time he's more right than wrong. So I like Dean and I like Watkins. I think those are two options that you should have in your team come double game week. Look, you shouldn't chase one double game week the way this season is going. Almost every team, maybe except City. So almost every team will double game week at one point. So kind of not sacrificing a team that has games in hand in order to chase a double game week within this game week is not a good idea. I have Cash and Watkins, for example, in my team, and I'm planning to keep them up to 27 at least and hope there will be a double game week. So I would not get rid of them for someone and try to chase this double game week, because come game week 27, people will transfer Aston Villa players in, but I have them ready. It's kind of, this is the strategy that comes into play. And also, a lot of people are arguing they might free hit game week 27. So you have to also think about your chip strategy. I'm not planning to free hit game week 27 as things stand. I like Dean because Target just joined Newcastle and he's unlikely to be rotated now. He's on set pieces. I have Cash, and I kind of preempted this or pre-planned this. And remember, Joe, in one of the episodes I said I over-planned and I brought Cash before Dean joins Aston Villa, but I'm not going to make this move, at least not now, because I feel it's a luxury move. What do you think about Aston Villa assets, Joe?
Yeah, I think they're awesome. They're actually in my plan. If I were to wildcard this week, I'd definitely bring in Watkins, and Dean, he is in my transfer plans, I think, a couple weeks out. So yeah, it's definitely, they're definitely a good team with good assets, especially under Gerrard. The next thing that we kind of talked about a little bit is Arsenal. I think really quick, having somebody in the Arsenal attack isn't a horrible idea. Saka is one of them that I know that's been coming up a bunch. Martinelli also. Tierney is probably coming into my team. I think that he's actually more part of Arsenal's attack than most of Arsenal's attackers. He's a great option. What do you think?
It requires a lot of planning if you have Arsenal assets, because they're going to blank in 27 and they're going to blank in 25. So they have Wolves away, a blank, and then two home fixtures which are extremely favorable, a blank, and then Watford away, which is also favorable. Mm-hmm. So they have nice fixtures, but you need to have a plan in place when Liverpool blank, Arsenal blank, and you have to have those bench options. I'm looking at Arsenal assets because I'm a big fan of their fixtures, and I'm a big fan of what Arteta is doing. I'm looking at Saka, I'm looking at Martinelli, I'm looking at even maybe Ramsdale at any point, and Tierney, as you mentioned. So we're looking at those Arsenal options, but it requires a lot of planning and a lot of kind of transfers in and out, especially if you have 3 Liverpool assets when it comes to 27, and you have to cover 25 as well with the blank, and Chelsea have a blank. So if you have any Chelsea defenders left, Alonso, many people still stuck with them. Looking at those options, if you don't have a cover, I think Arsenal assets, and if you're not using any chip, Arsenal assets are kind of difficult to fit in. However, if you can, I think there is huge amount of upside here and a huge amount of differentials that you can get. If I could play with chips a bit, I would get literally 3 Arsenals, because I don't think many people will own any Arsenal players at any point, maybe 1. But if you have 3 Arsenals, 3 Liverpools, but then free hit, let's say 27, to save that, I think there is an upside to this play. I still haven't really decided exactly my chip strategy. I kind of like plan one day ahead to see what happens, but I don't think I'm free hitting at 27. But if I was, I think that's a great strategy.
That's where I'm at right now, honestly. Just playing with chips and trying to figure out that transfer. Okay, so our last 2 that we have on our picks, we have Edouard from Crystal Palace, who man's been doing awesome up top for them, and then my favorite, and hopefully everybody's, or one of everybody's favorite channels to watch, the good old cycling goalkeeper Ben Foster. I like Ben Foster because I think that I'm going to sit on Ramsdale myself. Even if I do wildcard, I think Ramsdale has really good potential, so I want to keep him, but there is 25 and 27 looking at blanks there, and Foster, he has the starting spot, so I figure a 4.1 million backup, save some money, and have that coverage there. What do you think about both of those guys, Doc?
I totally agree. Edouard is also an option. Although I'm the type of manager that I don't like bringing players who are minutes risk, but seems like Edouard kind of cemented his place in Vieira's side. However, I'm looking at him and I'm studying kind of if I can bring him in or no. They have extremely favorable fixtures. They have Norwich, Brentford, Watford, Burnley, Wolves in the next 5, and they have a double as well, although it's Chelsea. One warning here, if you're looking at Crystal Palace assets, Gallagher will not double game week because he's at loan from Chelsea and they're playing Chelsea in the double game week, so he's gonna miss out. However, it seems like Edouard is extremely involved in Crystal Palace's attack. However, Zaha's back, and with all the available players at Vieira's disposal, it will be very difficult for him. I can see him playing 60, 70 minutes, 80 minutes. This me sweating a lineup every game week, I'm not a fan of, especially with all the doubles we have, with all the potential that we can get. I would put him between a top pick and a punt. I've seen a lot on Twitter and a lot on social media that people are targeting Edouard and they think he's a priority to bring in. I don't totally disagree with that, but again, I'm the type of manager who doesn't like sweating lineups every game week.
Crystal Palace, just get rid of Zaha. When was the last time he did anything for you? Come on, guys.
Just to make the FPL managers' lives easier.
Yeah. He's that guy that's always going to potentially do something, but probably not.
And he's very streaky. I really like him as a player, and especially for a mid-table team, he can be the star of that team. But he's very streaky player. So I see the point.
Yeah. So getting into single game week players here, what do you think about our single game week selections here, Doc?
The main players around the single game weeks are Manchester City players and West Ham players. West Ham have favorable fixtures. A lot of people are just kind of ignoring West Ham assets because they don't double game week. However, they have Watford at home, Leicester away, who are defensively this year terrible, Newcastle at home, Wolves at home. So over the next 4, they have favorable fixtures. So I wouldn't get rid of Bowen. I wouldn't get rid of him even for a double game weeker. It's a lot of double game weeks coming, and Man City are unlikely to double game week up to game week 30, and I think they probably might blank in game week 30. However, I'm still looking at bringing in either Laporte or Foden because Man City have Brentford at home, which are playing terribly defensively nowadays, although their underlying numbers are not that low. From the eye test, you can see they might concede any moment. They have Norwich away after it, and they have Tottenham at home and have Everton away. So the fixture run of Manchester City is really amazing for an attacking team, even from a defensive point of view. So I'm looking at either Laporte or Foden despite this double game week. So if you have Foden, I wouldn't get rid of him. If you have Laporte, I wouldn't get rid of him even for a double game weeker because of this fixture run.
I have Bowen in my team. If I wildcard, he's going to stay in my team. I think he's doing phenomenal. He's really a core piece of that West Ham attack. He's playing almost the role and not the actual physical role, but he's playing the role of what Antonio was at the beginning of the season. If they score a goal, he's either the scorer or the assister. Bowen is definitely staying in my team, and I've seen a lot of people actually talk about captaining him in 24 this week. He's definitely a great single game week option, and I wouldn't get rid of him. Cancelo, you can't get rid of him. The guy's a machine, especially this year. Once again, another player staying in my team no matter what. Laporte just not going to take up a second defensive spot. There's so many interesting, fun, good assets defensively in the league right now. Spending 2 on Man City, I can't do it. I know it's the sensible thing, but I can't do it right now. And Foden, me and Foden have had our fights, and we haven't resolved our relationship issues. So Foden is probably going to leave if I wildcard this week, and it's not him, it's me, and that's it. I'm sorry, Phil.
But I wouldn't get rid of Foden, to be honest. So we will discuss it, of course, off camera regarding your team a lot. But I wouldn't get rid of Foden. At least I will keep in my team for the coming 2-3 game weeks. Yes, Champions League might affect his minutes. I think he's a starter for Pep Guardiola in the Champions League, but I don't think his minutes will be affected too much. He's kind of an integral part, almost like Cancelo.
I get that, but me and Foden aren't friends anymore, so you can keep him for me. So getting into punts, some that we've talked about in the past. Anyone that you think really stands out in our list of punts here, Doc?
Well, you mentioned in your Twitter account you're kind of trying to select between Rafinha and Olise, I believe that is how it's pronounced. So Olise and Crystal Palace, for example, I believe also Guy is how it's pronounced, his name is. I believe those are options. I'm looking at Guy to bring in my team because I'm looking for a kind of Crystal Palace defender. We talked about Edouard earlier, so it kind of segues from here. So I think Crystal Palace assets are quite nice to have in our teams, and I'm looking for a defender, so I'm looking at Guy. Like I said, what do you see in Olise, Joe?
I think he kind of plays, at least right now, he feels like he's playing that Bowen role in the attack in Crystal Palace. And he's very good at feeding Edouard. Yes, rotation risk, especially with Zaha coming back, but Zaha can go and get traded for all I care, and the team would be better. The reason why I put that poll out is because it was a thought that I had to save a little bit of money. I'm not sure I'm going to make the shift for it, but he is very much a Rafinha-esque player. Like when you watch Crystal Palace, it's always him. And he's just a fun, creative, energetic player. And that's really what I see is I'm sitting there, I'm using the eye test. I haven't looked at the stats at all yet. Obviously, I'm going to do that before I pull the trigger on the wild card, but he's just that fun guy. That's what I like about him.
Yeah, he's a great footballer. I really enjoy watching him play. He really he has this flair type of style or attribute in him, so I really enjoy watching him play. The minutes might be risk, but he's doing himself big favors with every single performance he's performing. So I totally see why you would want him in your team. I don't know about his FPL potential yet, especially with the possible rotation. But if he cements a place in the Vieira team, he's going to enter my team at one point in the season, yes. The next option we have is Dyer. We talked about Son and Kane. It's the same concept. This is the same fixtures. So if you want an access into the Tottenham defense, I think Dyer is kind of the best choice just because of his secured minutes. I know it's a boring choice, and I know it's kind of the cheap choice, lack of attacking return, but he might score a header here and there for you in the upcoming fixtures. However, I think he's the best defender to get because he's just guaranteed minutes.
Yeah, that's something that I struggled with, was looking at a way to get into the Spurs defense either now or over time, and he's a great shout out, but I have so many plans. I can't do it just yet, even as bad as I want to. Talking about those creative players also, and a defender, Kookarella is somebody that I've had in my team, haven't quite gotten the results. Feel like I've been a little bit unlucky for that, but he's another one of those footballers that he's creative, he's fun to watch, and the hair is another +1 to to bringing him into your team. You gotta love a footballer like that, right?
He has a blank upcoming, but he has the double game week with Watford and Manchester United. He has Burnley, Aston Villa, and Newcastle in the three after it. So he has nice fixtures. He's a bonus magnet. He gets a lot of bonus even when Brighton don't concede. But for me, honestly, he's not very involved in that. Watch him get a double assist next game week. But he's not very involved as much as Lamptey. I would have loved to have Lamptey in my team, but the rotation risk, his minutes are being managed by Potter. So we're not sure where Lamptey stands. So I think Kookarella is the next best option because of the risk of rotation with Lamb. Yeah, you get a guaranteed 90 minutes player for 5.1 with a great defensive team. But again, it's kind of like Dyer for me. Yes, he might get this bonus here and there, but he will not be involved in many when it comes to assists or goals. Again, watch him score a goal and assist next game week because he crosses a lot and because he passes a lot and the game goes through him a lot. That's why he gets into the bonuses. So yeah, I see your point.
And then just finishing up real quick, we have a couple surprises sitting in the punts. Maybe the fact that we even talk about 2 Burnley players at all. And then I had mentioned Ramsdale. And I think Ramsdale is kind of a punt here because you might get a couple clean sheet points, you might get a couple save points over the period of time, but the real value I feel like in Arsenal isn't necessarily the defensive capabilities of them, but it's the attacking capabilities that they possess. And talking about the Burnley players really quick, my favorite is Cornet right now, who I think he's been an absolute stud since he's come into the league. I think he has like 50 or 60 plus points and played only a handful of games, so he's doing fantastic in the league. I think he really has a knack for the Premier League that a lot of players when they move into the league just don't have right away.
With the Burnley assets, with the amount of matches that they need to be rearranged for them, you can expect doubles. So I think Cornet is a good choice. However, in the short term, I'm looking at their fixtures. They have Manchester United, Liverpool, Brighton away, Tottenham, Crystal away, and Chelsea. So it's a terrible run of fixtures. So until I see a couple of nice fixtures as a double game week, I will not be targeting Burnley players. But Cornet can score against any team. He's on free kicks, he's on set pieces, so I can see him ticking along nicely. However, I'm a fixtures guy, and when I see those fixtures, I don't think they scream points, especially for Burnley players and the way Burnley will play against those big teams. They will sit back and maybe play on the counter. But this might change, especially having Weghorst or Weghorst, I think this is how you pronounce it, a big guy up top, so he cannot run past defenders, so they will depend on set pieces. I can see why you put him on that graphic. However, the fixtures, I'm not a big fan of them. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Well, let us know what are your planned transfers in the comments down below. Drop a thumbs up if you're enjoying the content. Subscribe for future content because the game weeks are finally back and we can make videos again and share our content. So if you enjoyed this, please subscribe. Joe, would you like to say goodbye to our audience?
Yeah, everybody, thank you so much for watching through to the whole video. Don't forget, like Doc said, like, subscribe, and let's get the points this week.
Guys, we'll see you on the next episode.
All right, bye everybody. Peace.